30 minutes of power.
Welcome to 30 Minutes of Power, a podcast dedicated to educate, encourage, and inspire godly people to use their power to empower others. Join your hosts, Jori O'Neale and Nicole as they share powerful insights on how you can use your God-given talents and gifts to make a positive impact in the world.
All right. Hey, welcome to another wonderful episode of 30 Minutes of Power, TOP, your one-stop shop for all things entertaining and encouraging with your girls, Nicole Salter and Jori O'Neale.
Hello.
All right.
Hey, girl.
Hi, how are you?
This week was a little crazy. I have 2 deals in contract and about 3 on the way, and I've been getting a lot of questions. So like my brain is like, don't talk to me. I need to recoup.
Questions about what?
Just questions about areas, questions about things to do, things they should look for, things they would like me to look for. Just like various questions that people ask. Like a big popular one is, how do I know if a neighborhood is good or not? And that is not something that I should necessarily answer because my good doesn't mean your good, right? And so I tell them a way that a lot of people find out if an area is good or not is they look at the school ratings. If the school rating is what you would like it to be, then you go to that area and you start to search. If school is not important for you, then start to look at like popular things like famous malls or historical areas that you like. And then that may be able to tell you if that area is good or not for you. So, yeah, questions like that. Like, I'm trying to help people make a decision without making the decision for them. Because you're not going to come later and say, you made me buy this house. I'm suing you because I hate it. No, no, no. No, no, no. I gave you the information and you figure that out on your own.
So, although that's real estate, I think that it segues nicely into the topic that I want to talk about today.
Mhm.
So, I'm reading this book, Worthy, and I'm trying to learn why I do what I do, the deeper level, right? Some of those root lies that I've told myself and how to grow past that, how to, I guess, kind of similar to what you're doing with your clients, like take the information that I have and then kind of make it make sense.
Right.
Right. I feel like I have a plethora of information
Okay.
concerning like upbringing, background, different events that have happened in my past. Right. So I'm using that information to then determine my worth.
Okay.
Right. And so you mentioned like not being able to tell someone if a neighborhood is good. I think we look for the same things in feeling enough.
Definitely.
We look for other people to tell us that we're enough. We look for other people to make us feel like we're enough, right? Like it's an external thing versus an internal thing, right? If I go to a neighborhood and my greatest ambition is to not have a car, and the neighborhood has like I don't know what those walking scores are I be seeing on the line. But if it has a high walking score, meaning like I can walk to everything I need, there's a church, there's a drugstore, I can walk across,
Market.
right? Like,
Yeah.
and I don't need a car. Then for me, that's a good neighborhood.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But if my concern was more, I want to have a quiet neighborhood with less congestion, fewer people, more, spread out, then that neighborhood wouldn't be a good neighborhood for me.
Right.
And so I want to ask, like, what is the like determining factor for feeling like you're good enough?
For me, the determining factor for feeling like I am good enough is whether the task that I am doing is completed, right? And how well did I complete it? Did I do it in enough? Did I take forever to do it? How could it have been done in a shorter time? Did I cross all of my T's and dot my I's? How many mistakes did I make? Um, there was one time where I was working on a contract, and this was in the very beginning. I didn't have much help from my team leader. His go-to response when I had a question was, go back and read it and tell me what you think. Like, I would say, hey, how long should the inspection period be? And he would be like, go back and read the contract and tell me what you think. And I'm like, can you just give me a number? Like, I'm on a timeline here. I have to put this in by like 9 o'clock and it's already 7:30, you know? And so the score that I gave myself for that first contract was maybe a 5 out of 10 because there were so many things that I did not know. And sometimes we give ourselves grace, sometimes we don't, you know, and it just depended on the mood that I was in that day. Like when the contract was all said and done, it was like, all right, we made it to the finish line. That's the bottom line. That's all that counts. We actually got there. We did good. How do we do better? And so there were certain times where I didn't feel like I was doing enough. I didn't feel like I was researching enough. Like even now in real estate, 5 days would go by and I don't write in my blog and I'm like, you're not doing enough. You like, are you cut out for this job? What is going on? Are you supposed to be here? Do you really want to help people? How are people going to know what you do if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing? So, depending on the task is how I kind of rate myself on being enough, right? There was a time where this is really silly, but last year, my kids, they have an award every year at the end of the year. And I was so frustrated with work, with marriage, with life that I totally forgot Christopher's award ceremony. And my cousin texted me because her son and my son are in the same class. And she's like, hey, are you coming? And I missed the text. And I saw it like 3 hours later while I was cleaning their bathroom. And I saw the text and I had the ultimate breakdown. Now, mind you, Christopher got like Sunshine Kid Award, right? It wasn't even like great mathematician or best reader or it was a silly award like 100 days in school, right? And I had the ultimate breakdown because I am at my kids' events 90% of the time. And because I wasn't there this one time, I was the worst mother ever. And I don't understand why God gave me children. And there were just so many things that were coming to mind because I felt short that particular time for that particular event. So it goes up and down.
So I think that's my conundrum because feeling enough shouldn't be circumstantial. It shouldn't be seasonal. It should but should it, right? Like, so your enough is based off of, it seems like, activity and external output.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at and I think about like, where did that start from? Because at some point in our lives, like we didn't realize that we weren't enough. Right? Like at some point in our lives, maybe in our youth, maybe growing up, maybe as a child, we were content in just being.
Right.
So like at what point does that occur?
I think it happens. So for me in particular, I cannot pinpoint like the exact time. For me in particular, I cannot pinpoint like the exact time. For me,
I cannot pinpoint like
I can say that growing up, it was always important that I do more. I read more. I study more. I get higher grades, right? I clean more. I go outside more. I play more. And so as a parent now, I understand why that was told to me, and I try to instill it in my kids without letting them feel like what they're doing is not enough. So like, for example, Christopher had a very hard time in math this year. And all year he's been coasting at like level 2 out of 5. And so at the end of the year, I got them watches that have a phone line, because when we go to places like Busch Gardens or Disney or SeaWorld, I want to be able to say, go ahead, go to the bathroom. I'll wait here for you. And I can see where he is on my phone. And so he called me from school and he says, Mommy, guess what? I said, what? He said, I reached my goal. My goal for my math test, my final math test, was to get over a 2. And I got over a 2, and I got to play on the bouncy houses for an extra 10 minutes. And although I'm like, you got over a 2, like you didn't even get halfway. Like, you're supposed to be at a 5. You got over a 2. And this is what's in my head, but I can't tell him that because I don't want him to grow up thinking I'm not enough, right? And so we went out to eat that night, and I said to him, I am very proud of you for reaching your goal. However, this is a 2 out of 5. We need to do better. We need to work harder. Right now, your focus is too much on video games, and I know that you can do better. So I think that different things that happen in our lives, even on our jobs, right? If we don't perform a certain way, our boss is like, you can do better. You know more. There's always a higher level for us to go. And so we're constantly getting that from everywhere. Sometimes people are giving it to us as motivation. Sometimes people are like, girl, I know you got this. You could do more. You could do better. And you're like, yeah, I can do better. But then when you're having a bad day, you're like, crap, I'm just not enough because I always got to do better. I always have to do more, Sometimes in church, like I can remember breaking down in church because the pastor's like, we don't pray enough. We don't worship enough. And I'm like, I get up every morning and I pray and I worship and I sing, and you want me to do more? When is it enough? you know? But sometimes and the mind is funny that way, and it plays tricks on you that way, to where you have to constantly remind yourself of your shortcomings and not being perfect like Jesus was, or Jesus is. We have to remind ourselves that we are not perfect and we are not the greatest of all times. And sometimes we will fall, but that doesn't mean we're not enough.
So this is where this is where my fight right now lies in figuring out the why. You know me and my whys. I love my whys. You gotta have your whys. If you want to know your whats, you want to know your hows, you gotta get to your whys.
Right.
And I helped author a book. It'll be out in September. Pre-launch June 10th. Y'all gonna hear a lot about that. But the portion of the book that I wrote is that I am more than my religion. And I find it interesting that you just mentioned that even in church, we are bombarded with messaging around doing more, not being enough. The book, ironically, is titled More Than Enough in Him. Right? And so I'm trying to work on shifting the things that make up my identity, the things that make up my worth, the things that make up my value, the things that make me feel like I'm enough, to shift them from things outside of myself, which I honestly can't control,
Right.
to something that is stable, something that is consistent. And for me, that's knowing that I'm in Christ, that like because Christ felt compelled to die for me, knowing that there's still a possibility I can tell him no, no, thank you. I don't want to follow you. Appreciate the death, but I'm good. And he died anyway. Like for me, like that's what caused me to become a Christian. Like I made a choice to make Jesus Lord because I and this is still a fight. Never felt enough, never felt like I was worthy, yet Jesus died for me. So for me, that was like, whoa, okay, where we going? What we doing?
Mhm.
Sign me up. I'm a follow.
Mhm.
Just because of that love and just feeling gratitude, like super grateful. And so I have to balance that sometimes with not trying to work for my salvation. Like you talked about when you were younger, needing to get the good grades and needing to do this and that. And I think our parents did the best that they could and the best that they knew how. And a lot of that was feeling like if my child doesn't achieve certain milestones or do certain things, then they can't take care of themselves. They can't fend for themselves. Which
Yep.
is true to an extent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that other piece of that grace, that other piece of encouragement, affirmations, you know what? You might not have gotten this over here. Not the but, instead, like where I'm desiring to go is to figure out like I don't want to do it a black or white, because that's how my mind is. Like I'm either doing this thing amazing, great, or I'm failing. Right? Like it's really this stark contrast, and I don't want it to be this polarized thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for it to be I am enough just as I am. Wrinkles, gray hair, flub, fat back. Like I am enough just the way I am. And if I desire to be more, if I desire to be better, I know that because Jesus is Lord, that I have it within me to do it. Like that's where I'm trying to get to. That's the goal right now for me in terms of feeling enough. My chapter specifically is all about me not being my gifts. Like I feel like I've in certain points of my life, I've like prostituted my gift, like the things that I'm good at, the things I have talent at. I've used those to kind of like gain attention or to like get people to like me or to like, not in a people pleasing way, but sort of kind of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so as I'm going through this book, Jamie Kern Lima, she wrote this book called Worthy. And one of the questions she asks is, do I want to be liked more than I want to be me?
Mm.
And I was like, I don't know. Like, do I perform? When I show up, am I showing up as my true self or am I showing up as my representative? The person that I know is going to be accepted in this environment, the person that I know that is going to be received well right with these people. Am I
Mm-hmm.
showing up as my representative or am I showing up as Jori, like flaws and all? And so when she asked that question in the book, I was like, tag, like that's something I want to sit and I want to wrestle with. So
Right.
I guess I want to kind of throw that question out there. What are your thoughts? Have you ever felt like you've shown up as your representative versus the real Nicole?
Yes.
Because your desire was to be liked more than it was to be you.
Um, I have shown up as my representative because I wanted money. There were times where I've had to drive like a good hour and a half away from home. And I have to put a smile on my face and act like I know what I'm talking about, knowing that I do not know your area and they just threw you at me, and I can't show you that I'm frustrated. I don't want to talk to you and I just want to go home. So I think there have definitely been times where I have shown up as a representative. I'm pretty sure that has happened in my early years. After 40, no, I don't care if you don't like me or not. You get what you get and you don't throw a fit. And if you don't like it, bye. That's kind of how things have gone after 40, maybe after 35, maybe even 30, I don't know. But I am no longer in the phase where I do things so that you can like me. I do things for people because I genuinely enjoy helping people and seeing people happy.
Mm.
I don't do things for me per se. But I'm pretty sure there was a time in my life, peer pressure is a big thing. So I'm pretty sure when I was younger, actually I cut school once, high school. Cut school, went to mind you, it took me about an hour and a half to get to school, number one. Then when we got there, the group of friends that I was with was like, hey, let's not go to school and let's go to Manhattan. Cut school, went to Manhattan, walked around with no money, did nothing. Then on the way back home, I'm going on the train and someone came behind me and both of us went through the turnstile together. And who do the cops pick up? Me. And so I got a summons and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to show this to my parents. I don't know what I'm going to do. They're going to kick me out. I'm never going to live at the house again. I don't know how I'm going to get to and from school. I don't know what I'm going to wear. I don't know what I'm going to eat. Everything was just happening at that time. And I'm not a person that cut school. That was the one and only time that I didn't even cut on senior ditch day because I was like, if I'm traveling an hour and a half to get to school, I am not leaving. I will stay home first. So, and I'm pretty sure that was one of those times where I was like, well, I can't tell them no. I want them to like me. I want to be part of the crew, As I got older, it didn't happen often. Definitely not after 30.
For me, it's more of the converse where I dim my light so as not to offend other people. Like if I'm in a group of people and they're not college graduates or like my hood friends, like I'm not gonna use certain vernacular around them because then they're gonna be like, oh, you think you're smart because you went to college and you're using big words. I'm like, I know I'm smart, and it has nothing to do with college, but I love reading and I love learning.
Right.
And so I use words that I've read and that I've learned, right? Like this again, I didn't learn this at college. Like I learned these things from reading, right?
Right.
So for me, that's where it's more of wanting to be liked more than wanting to be me. When I'm dimming my light, not shape shifting, if that makes sense.
I don't think that's because you want them to like you, though. I think that's because you don't want to offend anyone.
But that thing, me being me, if it is offensive, whose problem is that?
I get it, but not everyone fully understands themselves or their situations. And if you do understand yourself and the situation you are in, I would kind of hold you more responsible than the people that are not so educated and in touch with themselves. You know what I mean? I get on Jamel for that all the time. Not because I want him to dim his light, but because I want him to shine. And a lot of times, especially when talking with the children, he would dumb down his answer, for lack of a better word. And I have to tell him, don't do that. Don't do that. We don't want to come down to the 10-year-old level. We need the 10-year-old to come up. We need him to use those big words. We need him to want to read more, to learn those big words, to learn how to decode different sentences that we use. And so for him, I'm like, no, don't say the word, explain it, and then say it again.
So like that part, like what is the difference between that and then changing how I speak around a group of people because they don't understand the words? You know what I'm saying? Like, shouldn't it be that I should show up as me, regardless of the environment that I am?
It absolutely should. However, we are alike in that we don't do things or go to places to cause trouble, to fight, to turmoil. We bring people up. We don't bring people down.
That's the thing. Like,
not everybody understands that. Not everybody knows how to accept that. It took me a long time to accept a gift from someone. It took me a long time to, even when we first started, I was like, wait, you want to charge people? What? I don't even know what that means. Like, I know what it means, but I don't know what that means. How do you do that? And so until you introduce it and you start to teach it, people will see it negative. And so we're not there for negativity.
I'm not there for negativity, but I'm also not there to shapeshift. Right? Like, if you can't show up as your authentic self, then you should go somewhere else. Like, that's where I am right now. Like,
well, I have a question for you.
Tell me. Oh, I like questions. You know, I love questions. Yeah.
The people that you do not like to use big words around,
no, we're not talking about big words. We're just talking about me showing up as all of me. Well, with all my gifts, with all my energy, with all my positivity, with all of my optimism.
Mm-hmm. Listen, for me, when you start using big words, I'm like, oh, let me write that down. How do you spell that phonetically? Because I know that machine over there is going to be able to tell me what it means and what it says. So that is something that I like, right? But others will take offense to it. So my question is, have you ever been in a group where people have said to you or made you feel like, oh, you too smart. We don't even know why you hang with us?
Absolutely. Often. All the time.
Interesting.
All the time.
And what is your response to them?
I ask more questions, right? If someone says like, oh, you think you better than us, I sit there and I ponder and I said, and I ask myself, like, do I think I'm better than you? Or is it your insecurity that you're trying to project onto me? And when I start talking like that, then they're like, oh, you think you're a psychologist, right? And so then it becomes super like defensive. And you know me, like you want to argue? We can do that. I don't think you want to argue with me. Personally, I don't think you want this. I don't really think you want none. But if you think so, we can do that. I don't really desire to get into any sort of verbal altercations because let's just say I read too much. And so I have words for days. So I don't want to do this. This isn't beneficial. It's futile. And so it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. If I do engage in this back and forth, then it's like I already know this is pointless. If I don't engage, then it's like, oh wow, you're too good to even engage in right? Like, so it's like there is no winning. And so not necessarily for those people, but in situations like that, even at work, there are often times where, because I am a teacher, I'm an educator, but I'm not just a teacher and I'm not just an educator. If that makes you get that, right? Like, my job is not my identity, but for some people, it is. When you ask them, who are you? The first thing they say is my job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. That's
Right.
not me. It doesn't have to be me. And
Right.
so when I show up and they say, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" And I say, "Oh, well, on Friday my business is having a karaoke and comedy show. And then on Saturday, like I'm going to do a book sign." Like if I answer these questions,
And you're like, who are you?
then it's like, "Oh, you're trying to show out." No, 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 no. You asked
You
me.
asked me the question.
You asked me what I was doing.
Right.
I didn't throw this in your face. You asked me.
Right.
And
But you
so
know what? I think a lot of time, and I think that might happen too often, where we dumb ourselves down so other people don't feel bad, right? And I think people don't get those responses that make them realize you put yourself here. Like, I didn't come to you and say, "Hey, guess what I'm doing this weekend?" You came to me. So for you to tell me that I'm trying to show out, I simply answered your question. That's all I did. I answered the question that you had. I have been told a lot that I am bougie, and it offended me in the beginning. And then, one day I sat down and someone said it again, and I was like, you know what? You're right. I am bougie, and I work very hard to be bougie. Okay. I work very, very hard to have the lifestyle that I have. I put up with a whole lot of stuff to have the lifestyle that I have. You
and
know,
so I I I think I'm still very hood a little bit, a little bit. Um, but it doesn't it doesn't define
who you are.
who I am, right? Like that part. And so that's why I'm trying to get to the root of like where do we find our worth from, and at what point do we feel like we're enough? Like if I'm around other educated people who are trying to do the same thing, right? Like LaShonda's in the chat. LaShonda's an author, right?
Hmm.
LaShonda's a mom. LaShonda's a poet. Like LaShonda is a community activist. Like she is more than, if you looked at all the things that she's done on a piece of paper, like that's not it. And so
Hmm.
I think the beauty of even the book that I helped co-author, More Than Enough, like I think it shines light on the fact that like we are more than all these other titles. We are more than these things that we've worn these hats, and this is how we've marched around the earth.
Hmm. Hmm.
I am a mom, I am a sister, I am a wife, I am a daughter. Nah, baby,
And I
like
want to get a shirt that lists everything on
right?
it.
Like, but you're a child of God, and guess what? Like you are enough. Like when people say, "Well, who are you?" I'm enough. Period. Like Jori alone, I am enough. Like I am enough, and I think that's what I want to give people. Like oftentimes people are like, why do you do so much like introspection? Why do you do all this like work on trying to figure yourself out? I said, because if I can crack the code for me, then I can help you crack the code for you.
Right.
And once
Yeah.
you crack the code, like that's it. Like I wrote in my journal last year, one of my affirmations is like, I am a fire starter for Jesus,
Hmm.
igniting flames in the hearts of dormant Christians and blowing embers on dry bones to bring them back to life. Like
Hmm.
that is my goal. Like I don't want to leave this earth the same way that it is right now. Like I want to make it better, but I don't want to make it better for Jory's sake. I want to make it better for God's sake.
Right.
Because that's where all these gifts, all these things, talents, intelligence, like that's where it all originates from the
Hmm.
creator.
Hmm.
And if that's not the reason, if that's not my why, then I will allow outside circumstances. I will allow other people to
Absolutely.
determine
Yep.
my worth. I will allow environments that I'm in to then determine how I show up and who shows up. Is
Hmm.
it Jory or is it Jory's representative?
Right. I think that um it's human nature for us to want to be liked, want to be accepted, right?
Absolutely. We
It's
love
it
comfort.
I always ask, like, why does it take us so long to clean the living room, but I can go upstairs, use the bathroom, come back down, and the living room is a wreck again? It just took us 4 hours to clean the living room. I was literally gone 2 minutes, and y'all messed it up again. Like, why is it so easy to mess stuff up and then we gotta take hours to fix it, you know? It's just human nature for us to go back to that I am not enough. Even when you see someone that might be on your level, right? We've been teaching the same, we teach the same thing, we went to the same school, we know all of the same classes. However, you use big words when you talk to your children and I don't. I'm not enough. You know, it's so easy for us to pick and pull what we're not enough in. And there's so many things that we can be enough in and can't be enough in, that we have to have that constant reminder. We have to have that constant reminder to keep us moving forward and to keep us doing more and to keep us doing better.
There's a quote that says the comparison is the thief of joy.
It sure is.
And I think if we get to a space, if we get to a place where we are content
Yes.
in who we are and how we are, then comparison will take a backseat.
Definitely.
Joy will be evident. Like one of the prayers that I had yesterday when I got up yesterday morning, and I had a lot of stuff on my mind, a lot of things happening. And I said, God, like, I just want to show up in joy. Everywhere I go, I just want to show up in joy.
Mm-hmm.
Like wherever I go, every space that I occupy, I just want to bring joy. I don't want to bring my angst. I don't want to bring insecurity. I don't want to bring any of the things I'm feeling now. Like, God, I give them to you. I surrender them to you. Like I do this visualization exercise where I literally like hand things over to Jesus. And I had a great day because I was intentional in showing up in joy. Like I was intentional. And I think when we allow life to be lifing,
Yep.
we neglect to do that thing called pause, reflect, remind ourselves who we are, and that we are already enough. When we don't do that and we just go along our day, that's when the comparison starts. That's when the self-doubt starts. That's when
absolutely
the overthinking and we're just going and going and going. And I think for you, even that moment where you forgot to go to Christopher's event at his school, I think that was a moment of you just going and going and going and doing things because you're supposed to do them.
It was. I call that my robot moment.
Yes.
When
Yes.
I turn into a robot and it's like, wipe this here, wipe that there. I don't know if you've ever seen the Disney movie Ella Enchanted, but it was about a girl who that's me sometimes. I'm Ella, where it's like, do the dishes, do the laundry, wipe the wall, clean the TV, clean the toilet, wipe the sink. Tell Christopher, get out the room while I'm in a meeting. Get out the room while I'm in a meeting. Get no. You know, I call that my robot moment, where I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea how I got to this place, but I know that these things have to be done. And sometimes I am like very productive as far as doing physical things, but my mind, body, soul, and spirit are so drained that I can't even tell you what I did. I can't even comprehend what I was doing. Was I doing it for love? Was I not doing it for love? Was I doing it for joy? Was I not doing it for joy? I have no idea, because that I was a robot at that moment.
And I think you just made a very powerful statement. You said, I know what I have to do. And so my rebuttal would be, do you have to?
And I would say, if I don't do it, who's going to do it?
But that's the thing, like, I and especially as women and Black women, I'm just put it out there. There's this voice in the back of our heads that tells us that we have to, we have to, we have to, we have to. And I think that is the thing that drowns us and smothers us and prevents
Yep.
us from
Mhm.
resting. Like, you are worthy of rest. I'm speaking to you, Nicole. You are worthy of rest.
If you can see my face right now, you would laugh. I realize that I am stuck. That is one of those statements where it's like, I can define every one of those words, but what does that mean?
That part, right? And so that's what I mean when I say, like, what does it take for you to feel enough? Like, your house being clean, your kids being well groomed, your car smelling fresh. You're like, if those are the things that make you feel like you are enough, is that because you actually get joy from those things? Or is it because you feel like if you're not doing those things, someone's going to judge you?
I think it might be a little bit of both. I think certain days I feel like someone is going to judge me, and then certain days I just need to feel productive. I need a checklist where I can say, what did you do today? We did this, we did this, we did this, we did this, we did this. Okay. We 5 things out of however many, I think that's a productive day because I could have done nothing, you know?
It's that thing, like, I think we equate too often rest with nothing.
Yep. That's what
But
I equated with.
rest prevents you from feeling drained, overwhelmed, right? Like, the rest is the thing that prevents you from getting to that place where you're on autopilot.
Right.
You say robot, I say autopilot, but the rest allows you to recharge.
Yep.
It allows you to reconnect with what's important. It allows you to go back to your why. It allows you to figure out your what and your what fors. But without that rest, we're just zombies. Like, we're legit zombies walking around um with this checklist, with this to-do list of stuff that honestly has no importance. It doesn't bring value to our lives. It just makes us feel more or less than.
I have no idea what happened.
I mean, I just said some profound statements, you know how I do.
Ah.
No, I was saying that without the rest, without the stopping, without the pausing, without the recharging, we don't get to this place of autopilot. Like, if we don't stop, if we don't remind ourselves of who we are and that we are enough,
Mhm.
then we're just gonna keep, oh, where's the checklist? Oh,
Yep.
but did I do this? Did I do that? Oh, did I remember to? And this is what I was sharing with I think I was sharing this with one of my students. Honestly, I was like, some days I feel like I'm all over the place and I'm super scatterbrained. And others, when I give myself time and permission to rest. And that's the thing. When you have, for me, and I feel like we're like in this way, like, I have to give myself permission to rest. And
Mhm.
that rest allows me to then get really clear on what I want,
Yep.
why I want it, and, like, who is it for?
Yes.
If you come to my house all the time, uh, you say it take you 4 hours to clean your living room. Um, my living room ain't been cleaned probably in 4 years. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. because it's not, I don't care. It's not important. Like, I have people over. I have tons of people over. People come. I don't care. Like, because if you want to judge me, enjoy. But if you're the type of person that's going to judge me because I prefer to come on Facebook and try to encourage women to stop pretending to be somebody they not, and instead to engage and embrace the person that God made them. If you judge me for doing that instead of spending 4 hours cleaning my living room, go right ahead. But probably more than likely, you ain't even probably gonna come to my house.
Right.
Because we don't have the same values.
Right.
We're not trying to do the same things. Like, I'm trying to help build up the kingdom of God. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. Right. And so that's what when I started talking about like being our true authentic selves in every space that we occupy and not dimming our light for others, that was part of that. Like, we are all blessed with the same 24 hours of the day. And people are like, oh, how do you do so much? I do so much because I'm not concerned about as much. I'm not concerned about what you think of my living room. I don't care. I don't even concern about what you think about my hair. Like, oh, I don't care. Like, I don't care. I don't care. For me, that doesn't add value into the world.
Right.
Now, for some people, they're like, oh, well, I'm not gonna follow her. I'm not gonna listen to what she's saying because she got a fake living room and her background and her hair's not like, if that is you,
that's okay. Bye. See you later. Thanks
bye.
for stopping in.
Bye. This is not for you.
Yep.
Like, I'm trying to take off the mask, not put one on.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What I love place. We got some humans up in the chat. Diana says, amen, amen, 100%. LaShonda says that she knows exactly what she means. She feels like with a certain group of friends that she can't have certain conversations with them. She also shared that she wrote a poem called I Am. You're going to have to pull up one day, LaShonda, and bless us with that poem. We'll love to hear that poem, baby. And TT Linda says, you ladies are wonderful. TT Linda, we miss you, baby.
Hi, Auntie Linda. How are you?
Yeah, man. So yeah, this is a midweek podcast. We usually do these on Mondays at 7:30. But again, we just life be lifing.
Yep.
Nicole has house guests. I'm gonna leave her to it.
Yeah. I go on a cruise tomorrow. My children don't know yet. We'll see what happens. I'll videotape.
Listen, it's on the internet now. You don't put it on the line. You don't.
They're not old enough yet. They ain't got that yet.
Good. Don't give the babies that. Don't give the babies.
Yes, they don't have that.
That's good. That's good. TT Linda says she's great and she misses us. We miss you too. We miss you too.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. That's more than 30 minutes of power, but we missed last week, so we didn't give you 50 minutes. Use them wisely.
Use them wisely and be your authentic self.
Yes. All right. So for 30 minutes of power, Nicole Salter, Jori O'Neale, be an empowered person, using your power to empower others.
Empower others.
Till next time, people.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to 30 Minutes of Power. We hope you found today's episode informative and inspiring. To stay connected with us and continue the conversation, follow us on Instagram at 30 Minutes of Power or email us at azironsharpensiron@gmail.com. Don't forget to visit our website at azisi.org to learn more about our mission and how you can get involved. Remember, your power can make a difference in the world. Let's be folks out there using our power to empower others.
30 minutes of power.